Hello, welcome to an edition of From the Hive. And today we've come in specifically to go and feed the bees particularly. And one of the other things we were concerned about is that the hive straight in front of us, which is the Abigail hive, last time we came along the bees were quite fractious. And another thing we noted that they weren't bringing in any pollen. Which is a good sign, actually, indicative of the fact they didn't have a queen. Well, I've now come in, we've given the bees some more food. They seem to be far less agitated, and from what I can see, I've seen several bees coming in and going out, and they have been bringing pollen in. So these bees in the Abigail hive, as indeed the other bees, they're a lot more settled, and I have to say, I'm much happier about this. The bees in the middle hive, we'd put on some food previously in quite a big container called a contact feeder, which means it's a container that we put upside down, invert, and then put the container face down, so the opening with some gauze over it is face down on the surface of the crown board, which is a special board, and there's a gauze on that board, so bees can get up toward the gauze and toward the contact feeder, but they don't actually get into the feeder itself, whereas in the other hives it's something called a rapid feeder, and it means that many bees all at once can come up through a well, and they then go down into a small space over the top of like a funnel, and there's a funnel covering them, a cup funnel covering them, so they can only get into a small space to actually sup the actual sugar syrup that we put in. Now the bees in that contact feeder, they seem to be quite happy, but the actual contents of the contact feeder don't seem to have been used since the last time. It's a very good sign. The bees seem to be quite calm, and it's a good sign, in fact, that the hive is actually approaching the weight suitable for being able to overwinter the bees. What we're going to be doing in hopefully a few days' time, the weather promises to be good this week, so we'll go into the hive, into all the hives, and we have some special treatment to do. First of all, we have got to go and put a special type of mesh onto the middle hive. It doesn't have a varroa mesh, and this is a special mesh through which varroa mites, which can carry disease, will fall. We're also going to be treating the bees, so we have some special slot-ins, as it were, that go in between the frames, and the bees brush up against that, and the contents of these slips that we put into the hive will be sufficient to kill off the varroa mite, which can cause disease and cause them to fall right through the bottom of through the mesh, and they won't be a problem for the bees. So we put that in, we'll put that in just this week, and we're also going to be putting on mouse guards onto the front. Now I'll try and show you some mouse guards, because I think there should be some mouse guards on the front of these hives. This is of another beekeeper called Erling. Now I'm not sure whether they actually have mouse guards or not. They don't have mouse guards at the moment, but they certainly will do. And these are basically, it's like a plate which fits in front of the entrance block. You can see a small entrance block, a plate that sits in front of that, and it's got holes like you would find in a colander, and these holes will let the bees in through, but they won't let mice in through. So we put that on the front of all of the hives, and it helps to keep the hives secure for winter. And as you can see, we've got the orange cord on top, which also helps to strap the hive down. We do get deer through here periodically, and they can cause an issue or kick the hive over or something, and it wouldn't be a pretty sight for the deer, or indeed for the bees, because the bees don't like moisture. They want to be kept inside, and they keep their environment up to about 35 degrees Celsius. Quite an amazing feat for small insects during the dead of winter, but they do that, and they will surround the queen and make sure that she's kept warm and able to get back to breeding again start laying eggs even as early as February. And certainly if the weather permits it, then some beekeepers start feeding from as early as February. Only we're going to have to look at the weather and do the best that we can for the bees. We're just coming to the end of our third season of beekeeping. We didn't have any honey at all from any of these hives, partly through to ourselves, partly through to our own understanding, through to the weather and whatever. But it's a case of live and learn. So anyway, that is a wee explanation from the hive for this week. We'll be back from the hive again another time, and we'll let you know how we get on, and probably do another live session as and when we do. For the moment though, thanks very much for joining us, and we will be back soon.